Francesco Petrarca, or Petrarch, was a very influential poet and Italian scholar born in Arezzo on July 20th, 1304. Arezzo is a city in the Tuscan region of Italy. However, he spent most of his childhood in the village of Incisa near Florence with his younger brother and parents. He was very aware of the things happening around him locally, which sparked his interest in a new philosophy called humanism. His writings began to teach people to worry more about themselves and the people around them, as opposed to deities or gods. This is why he was called the father of humanism.
Tell me about the times you're living in.
We're in a time of art, discovery, and rebirth of culture. Most call it the Renaissance. Living during this time, there have been artists such as Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. Things are changing rapidly, such as new lands being discovered and new health discoveries. Literature is a defining part of the Renaissance. My father was a major of law who wished for me to follow in his footsteps. However, I would much rather pursue a career in literature. And now that he has passed away, I'm able to do so.
In this time, it was popular for men to wear long shawls, almost dragging the ground. In most pictures of Petrarch, you see him holding a book, which is very fitting because of his love for literature. Petrarch is known as the poet who lost his head, because he fell deeply in love with a woman at first sight named Laura de Noves. This is why he is pictured with a crown of leaves on his head.
As I was pursuing my career in literature, I was a cleric in the Muslim church. I'd begun to develop a new outlook on the way I perceived religion, and I didn't quite believe in all the things I was teaching. The more I studied, the further I strayed. I eventually adopted what I call humanism. It's not the focus on a god or a deity so much as it is the betterment of our society, the world around us. Civilizations before us were unable to take large strides because of limitations due to religion. I'm determined to change this in my time and rise above those limitations to make advancements that no other has.
Some people have asked me what my greatest fear is. Lack of knowledge would be my answer. Things are changing so rapidly, and I cannot resist to not add to these new findings. The unknown is a terrifying concept. It is the unknown. Knowledge is the most important thing to me, and for someone to be uneducated about the things happening around them is truly a crime. On a more physical fear note, the Black Plague haunts me. People around me are dying left and right from this terrible disease. I must find a shelter from this. So I've given away my collection of classical books and I've studied in exchange. Both of my fears have come true. The Black Plague is getting closer and closer. I've lost a portion of my knowledge.
Lots of trade was happening in the world around him between Rome, Italy, Spain, France, and Britain. The middle class was making a rise in the societies of Italy. There was no longer just rich and poor, there was a median with the most population out of the other two classes. Exploration was a major thing happening during the Renaissance. There were developments of sailing techniques, and more people were using this to discover new lands. Better maps was a huge part of exploration increases because sailors could go farther lands if they had an idea of where they were going.
The city I know best is the one I spent my childhood in. Incisa in Valdarno is about 12 miles outside of Florence. I also spent a lot of time in Florence as I was growing up. My favorite place to write was outside of the church that soon became the world famous and known as the St. Alexander. This church was built by a man in the city, Andrea de Gusto. The government in my city was a municipality or commune.
Petrarch's greatest accomplishments were his poems and sonnets. He wrote most commonly about his lover, who he called Laura. This is assumed to be referring to Laura de Noves. He also wrote about his philosophies about humanism and other things. As stated before, he was most recognized for being the father of humanism. He was very well known as being a founder of the modern Italian language as well. His vernacular poems were paired with other famous authors as they developed this language. He was admired all throughout his lifetime and recognized as very intelligent. In 1342, he was recognized as Rome's poet laureate. Petrarch is also given the title of developing the concept of the Dark Ages. As future generations arise, they are gifted with the knowledge that Petrarch rediscovered and developed. Without him, the Italian language would be considerably different. We would not know many things about ancient civilizations, and some philosophies would not be the same or as well known as they are today. He was also a very influential person to writings. He developed lyrical poetry and adapted many aspects of sonnets and other types of poetry.
It was July 18th, 1374. Just before my 70th birthday, while living in Apwh, I passed away in my study. I was peacefully sleeping and experienced a natural death that was never really diagnosed. I feel as though my life was well lived and I fulfilled a great legacy.